I'm here outside of the law courts in Victoria, BC, as part of the Canadian Centre for Men and Families' efforts to draw awareness to International Parental Alienation Awareness Day, which is coming up on April 25th of this year. So it's important for us to raise awareness about the issue of parental alienation, in part because our courts do a relatively poor job of identifying this particularly horrific form of abuse as the abuse that it is. So the reason I'm here at the law courts is because our courts are implicated in the failure to protect children from the widespread problem of parental alienation. And I also like to put this problem in historic context, because over the last 20 years of family law jurisprudence, there's been a growing move towards a presumption of equal shared parenting time between the mother and the father. We're not there completely. The courts still do tend to favor mothers a little bit in custody and access decisions, but with a move towards more and more focus on shared parenting, one thing that high conflict parents, and many of these are mothers, are pulling is to demonize the father, not only in the court's eyes but also in the eyes of the children. And this is the phenomenon known as parental alienation, the deliberate attempt on behalf of one parent to poison the children against the other parent. And if this was well recognized by the courts, if widespread psychological expert opinion on this issue was understood robustly by the courts, it would be less of a problem. But typically, unless judges are particularly attuned to the realities of parental alienation, this form of abuse goes underdetected in family law decisions. And the ones who suffer most from this are children, because they're often denied the protective influence of their fathers, for instance, in the majority of cases that involve parental alienation attempts on behalf of a mother targeted against the father. So that's why I'm here, but I'm also here as an act of remembrance and solidarity on behalf of the thousands of men and children across Canada and around the world who suffer from this pain, fathers separated from their children in the face of a justice system that doesn't do anything to prevent this harm. And the entire basis of family law is meant to be to protect the best interests of the child. So I'm here also in my capacity as a protector of children. And for me, in my role at the Canadian Centre for Men and Families, protecting men from all forms of domestic abuse, including parental alienation, is part of my wider commitment to protect children. So I'm here in solidarity and to express hope for a future where our justice system does more to protect men, children from parental alienation. So I wanted to more clearly tie the problem of parental alienation to the history of family law jurisprudence in which there's been a gradual move towards a presumption of equal shared parenting time. So for normal parents, this is no problem. Separation and divorce happens, there can be negotiation, the children share time with the mother and father. This is a good thing. Mothers and fathers both have important things to contribute to the lives of children. But in the case of high conflict divorces, which is the majority of divorces and separation that appear before the courts, if a high conflict mother, for instance, whose characteristics often include a desire to control children absolutely, to the point of severe abuse to the children, if the high conflict mother believes that the court is likely to give shared custody instead of sole custody to the mother, often what she'll do is begin a campaign of poisoning the children against the father, and then concurrent with this is often some false allegations lodged against the father, allegations of family violence, allegations of sexual abuse, and these will be used to poison the courts against the father. So the combination of parental alienation, which poisons the mind of the children, can be used in court, for instance, if there's voice of the child reports or other forms of children's testimony, which have also become more common over the last 20 years of family law practice. This children's testimony can then be used to make the courts think that the father is actually doing the things that the mother says that he's doing. And often the mother is only saying these things in order to gain total control over the children, and then in many cases also to get a generous helping of child support, which is less likely to happen in a shared custody arrangement. So I wanted to clearly position the problem of parental alienation in this legal history and say that at CCMF we're committed to system-wide change and judicial education so that in cases of parental alienation, judges know what to look for, they know the characteristics of a high conflict personality, they know how to read female perpetration as perpetration because it shows up quite differently from how male perpetration shows up, and the courts can then better do their job of protecting children and protecting families. Now, this isn't to say that fathers never do bad things, nor that the courts shouldn't be concerned about protecting children and women from truly abusive fathers, but to target good fathers on the basis of the false allegations of mothers who wish to have total control over the children amounts to a miscarriage of justice that we at CCMF stand firmly against. So I want to honor all the good fathers out there, say thank you. If you're separated from your children today, we see you, we honor you, we want to work to make your lives better, and we remember your children at this time too.